What kind of gun is that?
That's the AR-15.
Cool. And what does the AR stand for?
Assault rifle.
Assault rifle. Do you know it stands for Armalite?
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, Armalite.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's some gun owners who don't even know what they stand for too, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I guess what is your position then on guns? Do you think that guns should be removed from everyone? They should be confiscated from every civilian? Or...
Right. Do you want the long answer or the short answer?
Short answers first, and we can go into long answers.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Short answer. Guns should be illegal anywhere there's children. Guns should be illegal. If we're going to have guns, have regulations, not remove them like some people do. Mentally insane people couldn't get guns as easily as they could before February 2017 when your president, our president, removed the regulations on the mentally insane from purchasing guns. So my stance is no guns.
No guns.
But this is a capitalist society, and capitalism makes the world go around.
Yeah.
So if you got to have guns, and it is our Second Amendment right, we just need to modify it a little bit so that kids are not getting killed. So that these kids are not dying for capitalism.
Do you think, in terms of no guns, though, right? The school zone area was a gun-free zone, right? Don't you think, though, maybe gun-free zones are not a solution? Do you find?
I guess not.
Right? Yeah. I mean, you have like the nightclub in Florida. That was a gun-free zone, and the guy came in. No one was able to defend themselves against mentally deranged people. Right? The Aurora movie shooting. Right? The guy chose out of all the movie theaters. A lot of them had. You can bring your guns here. The one that didn't, that's the one he chose. Right?
Right. So instead of spending money on guns and keeping the NRA in business, maybe we need to spend more money on enforcement of our gun-free zones.
Yeah, I mean,
if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I would say, I would say like maybe the last people we should look to try and enforce some of these things would be the government, because apparently like the FBI had received many tips, right? Of him maybe possibly doing this, right?
That's what they say.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's government. We can't really think that they're the most efficient group organization to kind of have their best interests in our mind.
There's different facets of the government. I've always felt comfortable with the FBI and the CIA. I mean, not in terms of surveillance, I don't feel comfortable, but in terms of trusting them to defend our country and, avoid murder and bloodshed. Unfortunately, this regime, I do not trust. And up to this point, this regime has been the enemy of the people. Not a safe government for the people. Not at all.
Including Obama's, right?
I'm not including Obama's.
Why is that?
Well, I'm referring to what's happened in the last year.
In the last year? Okay.
I know we've had plenty of mass shootings before that too, and
especially
plenty of problems with gun regulations.
Obama, right. Drone bombing children overseas, 2 field hospitals, in Afghanistan. So it's not like it's decreased. You even thought this should have ended with Bush, when he was out of office, but it only continued to increase. And it seems to be, we'll see what the next 7 years will bring if he will continue the same policies, right?
No, 7 years is unacceptable.
Right, unacceptable.
Yeah.
What do you think of the idea then, yesterday was President's Day, of having no presidents? Do you really need a stranger dictating how you should live with your life and what you can and cannot do with your property and your body and with what you own?
It's an excellent question.
Yeah.
I've kind of become a bit of a hippie.
Yeah.
And if you wrote up legislation that was in the interest of the people of this country, I'd be interested in approving or agreeing or voting for somebody that suggested we don't need presidents. That's a very interesting point, and I'd be open to hearing more about that.
Cool, yeah. So the idea would be, generally, right, we don't generally need government at all, right? Because there's a lot of the things the government, we think that only government can do, but you find that we can kind of do it ourselves in a much more efficient way, providing protection, providing, especially when Occupy Wall Street came in here. You saw all the food camps that came here. There's a lot of ways that we can help each other socially instead of giving our money up to this bureaucracy, eats up 90% of it and gives away like 10 cents away, right?
You're preaching to the choir
Preaching
right
to the
now.
choir. Yeah.
It sounds. I mean, it's a convincing argument. It's an extreme, and I'm trying not to think any more extremely than just the removal of 45.
Right. Oh, then the question then.
And then of the Republican Congress. Not all of them.
Not all of
there
them.
are honorable men. There are honorable men in Congress that take money from the NRA. I can't say anything bad about John McCain since this regime came into office.
He's got a lot of warmongering,
That's his
traditions.
past, right?
I would say, NRA thing aside, there's no NRA member that's ever killed anyone. I would say then, there's a lot of people who view Trump as a fascist, right?
I agree with that.
You agree with that?
I agree with that.
Well, then in your earlier statement, when you're making then that all guns should be removed from civilians, don't you think that's the last thing we would want? That the only person who would have then AR-15s would be a fascist government like Trump?
Yeah, but
right?
But I'm not. Well, yes, that's you have a fair point. But I'm not suggesting we don't let civilians carry guns. I'm suggesting we throw all of our guns into the ocean.
Into the ocean.
No more guns.
No more guns.
The people who first inhabited this land, Native Americans, they defended themselves with bows and arrows.
You want to go back to medieval times? Those are honorable times, I would say.
We were living off of the land. I wasn't here. They were living off of the land.
Yeah.
And by making money off of things and developing capitalism, what do we have? We have a 60-degree day in the end of February. This is scary.
But we also have, running toilets. We don't have to go chop down wood anymore, heaters. We can spend more time in pursuing the things we like protesting.
Right.
Instead of worrying about, like the Native Americans didn't particularly have much of any of these things, right? Sewer system, right? It was mostly day-to-day grind and hunting and gathering.
I know. Yeah. But my point is that if you live off the land and guard the planet, you don't need guns. I mean, right.
Yeah.
This is, 100 years later, and other countries have guns, so we're supposed to have guns too. I understand.
Yeah.
But I mean, whatever. I need a solution. But if the government refuses,
what do you think about maybe arming teachers?
I think that's crazy.
You think that's crazy?
I think it's crazy.
For me, it does sound kind of crazy, especially the government teachers, right? Because if you have a student that's kind of rowdy, it's like, okay, you better sit down, right? But at the same time, they used to do that. There used to be incidents back then. People used to go to school regularly, like 20, 30 years ago, with guns in their trucks, seniors, juniors, going to school. It wasn't an issue. There wasn't ever any mass shootings or anything like that going on. You find then, when gun-free zones started coming in, people find these viable targets to kind of let go.
Yeah, I mean, more guns is not the answer. Any way you slice it. Unless you're profiting from the business of guns, more guns is not the answer.
Okay, so would you universalize that to say then government shouldn't have guns either? No one should have guns. Right?
Again, my hippie
Throw it all
position
into the ocean.
is no guns.
No guns.
We do not need to kill. We do not need to kill.
Defend ourselves.
Don't we have nuclear missiles? In case
that is a good deterrent.
In case of
what about home invasions? I can't. The thing is, Supreme Court rulings have said many times over and over again. Warren versus D.C. District of Columbia, Dick Cheney versus Winnebago County, that there is no obligation to protect your life, liberty, or property. The cops have no obligation, no duty. So if there is no protection, the government can't protect you. And the Supreme Court judges have said that. It's up to me then to kind of protect myself. And I can't really use a bow and arrow against a thug who will come in and break into my house, harm me and my family.
Of course.
Yeah.
And if we have leaders that promote kindness and equality, and that includes financially, like a Bernie Sanders type, who wants to, take money from the 1%.
He is the 1%, though, don't you think? He's got 3 houses, mansions.
No, you're good. Yeah. You're good. You're good at this. I mean, I believe Bernie Sanders' heart is in the right place. I'm not gonna, you know.
Yeah.
At the same time, politicians are often, rolling in money.
Yeah, the crooks.
And right,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's what I'm saying. Look, why don't we just get rid of the idea we need presidents or politicians? We
Right.
don't need strangers dictating how to live our own lives. I don't need. The only person who can tell you how best to live your life is you.
So then, back to one of the points you were making is, so what do we do? How do we settle conflict without a government?
Yeah,
I'm into it.
Yeah. So
But how do we settle conflict?
That's a good question. So like arbitration is not something that's unique to government, right? All a judge does is like, I will provide an impartial opinion to resolve this conflict. But the thing is, you can't say they're impartial when the cop works for the state, when the judge works for the state, when your defense prosecutor works for the state. Everybody works for the state. That's not really impartial, right? But you have like arbitration, like if someone charges your account, your bank will pay that back immediately and investigate it, right? If there's a dispute on eBay or PayPal or any of these sort of or Etsy, they will resolve the dispute. So like the market has created a lot of really cool ways to resolve this dispute. It doesn't involve throwing people into prisons for victimless crimes, right? So the way like they resolve dispute here, you have like over like 70% of the people in cages for victimless crimes.
Oh, let's yeah. I mean, it's this here is very this is in my opinion a fascist state at this point.
Yeah. So I would say then
They're just getting started.
It's been rolling for quite some time.
Well, okay, right. Yes, I agree, but.
Obama's wireless tapping program that they have here with the Patriot Act, it's been rolling.
I need to do more research on Obama. Yeah. Obama's America never made me feel like he wasn't trying to stand for ethics and morals. I never felt like when Obama was. Now here's the other thing, he's not president anymore. We have to stop talking about Obama.
No one was really talking about Obama when he was president, though. There wasn't like all this protests against the warmongering there, right? Now you see all the protests against Trump here, but where were all the protests when Obama, people are talking like immigration policy and stuff like that. But, Obama deported over 2 million people out of this country. Yeah. He ended the wet foot, dry foot policy of Cuban refugees coming to the United States. He ended that. And they're sent back to Cuba, if they, so like, that's a death sentence.
Somehow, I feel like Obama taught love, at least in the public eye.
Yeah, it's a show.
And if you're teaching hate and lies and fascism in the public eye, your public is going to come out of the woodwork. You know what I mean? I'm a musician. I like exercise. And I like to play video games, and now I'm an activist. And I don't want to hear that that's a positive thing. I'm here because somebody needs to be here. I'm here from New York.
Oh, wow, nice.
I drove down for President's Day just to try to spread the message that we have to abort our capitalism and come down here and occupy the Capitol.
I like the occupy the Capitol. I don't know about the capitalism part. Capitalism has done really well for a great lot of people. Like the only privilege that we have is being here in the United States, where we're not as like poor as like I'm from Bolivia. Have family there, right? It's a very poor country, one of the poorest in the South America. Like a lot of people like to come here because your income drastically increases the moment you're here in the United States. And you no longer have to worry about if your kid is going to die. You have access to medicines.
Of course.
The inverse of that, when you see when like you could say communism has been tried, has always been mass murders, right? Mao, Great Leap Forward, millions dead. Parents eating their kids and children. Here we're such a great abundance of food, I would say, thanks to capitalism, right? I don't really see a lot of starving people. I mean, there's mental issues people here, sure.
We do have a homeless problem in America, I think.
Yeah, I would say then if there's a homeless problem, then the last people we should turn to is government that, seizes people's houses, forecloses, bankrupts them. Look at the situation in Detroit. They do that all the way around. Hey, where's their taxes? You didn't pay your taxes? Well, time to leave. Creates more homeless situation.
One of my favorite leaders that I've studied in the last year and tried to emulate the philosophies of is Gandhi. And, he believed that civil disobedience was a responsibility of the people when the leaders become fascist. My God, my point.
They did it peacefully.
Right. So, right. And a peaceful occupation, thank you, we could
But then what do we do after that?
okay. If we're going to elect a leader.
See, then we run into the same problems again.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So no government.
Yeah.
Fine. So the people govern the people, and
govern ourselves.
And the courts are.
The markets can create courts. This is arbitration. This is like, hey, I've been in the business providing arbitration for 10 years. Look at my record. You look at my comment feedback reviews. You're like, what's her name?
Mark.
Mark provides, great dispute resolution, right? He's not tied up to anyone. Look at his history. It's like when you shop at any store, they have the ratings, right? 5 stars out of 5 stars. I've been in the business for 20 years, right? It's like, great. That's someone I could trust. I don't trust any of these judges, right? I can't choose who these kind of judges. I'm forced to go to those courts if there's a dispute, right? Mm-hmm. I can't choose arbitrarily. I'm forced to pay their salary,
So,
yeah.
How do we achieve that?
Well, I think the first step would be letting go of the idea that we need such a thing like a government or politicians. Time and time again, these things are not working out. Right.
It's proven. Yeah. It's proven to not work.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
The drug war keeps going. People say, everybody knows it's bad, but it still continues to persist. Every single president goes in, increases executive power. And this is like, I guess, a lot of liberals' nightmare, right? Look. Yep. What do you think is going to happen?
As long as, in my opinion, well, what I've learned thus far is that as long as money buys power and your place in society, I think we're going to have that problem.
Yeah, and those would be interesting problems to kind of work at, but in a way that doesn't require the monopolize of violence the government brings to any problem. Right? There's always a threat.
Right. There should be no violence.
Try to find peaceful solutions to these kind of problems, right?
The only violence there should be is, the tiger in Africa killing a gazelle, because a tiger doesn't know better. That's the only source of food a tiger can have. We don't need to kill anything. We know better. We know to grow what the planet gives us, and we don't. Who knows how much longer we have this planet?
Yeah, and granted, it's also a problem under government. They put out their zoning things, say you can't grow vegetables on your front lawn. They stop they arrest some people trying to feed the homeless in Florida and in California recently. They own 1/3 of all the federal lands. All the federal lands own 1/3 of the land here. That's a lot of land, that could be used for homesteading, for quarrying. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of problems there, and always find the common denominator getting in the way of us trying to achieve something great. It's government.
The corporations and our government murdered those children in Florida.
Corporations a bit of a stretch. They left the children unprotected. Left them unprotected.
Yeah,
they guard everything. He's got guns. Nightclubs have guns. Banks have guns. Things that people value have guns. But people don't value the children, so obviously they left them unprotected. There's no guns there, right? They don't even put seatbelts on the school buses when they have to go to school.
Yes, seatbelts. Buses.
Right, there's no interest in protecting the kids. Seems like kids seems to be like the last minority group of people that should be advocated for.
So is your stance that we need guns in school?
My stance is maybe public schools are not needed. Private schools, community schools, your hippie commune schools, these sort of things provide their own kind of protection. Because like that kid apparently was maybe bullied a lot. A lot of these tend to be very bullied. And yeah, public schools, when you're throwing in kids from strangers who mistreat their own children and throw them in the same kind of cesspool, you create a Lord of the Flies situation. Yeah. Right.
I mean, I vote Democrat, but I'm more of a progressive independent. Mm-hmm. I vote for the lesser of two evils, basically.
So evil keeps winning. At some point, that can't really be an excuse anymore, right?
Well, evil keeps winning as long as the American people allow it to. If the American people come together and sacrifice their capitalist ideals or have an awakening that they need to get down here or get over to their local senator's office.
How about work locally in your own community, build that up, right?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I mean, if someone presents here's evil and evil, flip the table over.
Yeah, right. Right. Teach love, and teach kindness first. But the corporations have really helped out this government. I mean, in my opinion, they're hand in hand. If you look at real estate.
Yeah, but you can't have corporations without government. Government provides them legal immunity. There's as a person, there's no as a document. There's a guy, for example, who was on an HOV lane, had his corporation's paper, he's trying to argue that that's a person because that's what government says. But it allows people to escape liability for their own actions, right? And that's the same immunity that government enjoys. You can't sue like a state prosecutor, a judge.
Well, it's
right?
corruption.
Yeah,
it's corruption.
Right.
You just twist the letters around, and you have corporation, corruption. Same thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, through this fight. And at the risk of sounding dramatic, it is a war. It has to remain peaceful. But through these battles, it's been inspiring to have people, send me a message saying thank you for standing up for humanity.
Yeah.
And it's been inspiring to watch other people. Out here yesterday, there were Muslim, probably teenagers. They were probably maybe 18, maybe 20, 22, holding signs saying, I'm Muslim, ask me anything. That's inspiring to me.
Did you ask them questions?
I talked to them for a while.
Yeah.
I don't, religious.
They believe women should be equal under law, and they reject Sharia law.
If they were Muslim men.
Yeah.
That would be an excellent question for a Muslim woman, I believe.
Yeah.
Excellent question.
Do you do this sort of thing in New York too?
Well, when 45 goes home to his tower, 9 times out of 10 I make my presence felt.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's keep in touch. Definitely like to.
Absolutely. What was your name again?
Cal.
Cal, Mark.
Mark, pleasure,
Yeah,
man.
Absolutely.